Hey, here we have a tier list. We're going to take a look at the High Elves and how they have benefited from the recent rework. They're listed down here in order of their release, and we're going to take a look at them. Hang on a second. Oops. Okay. Alright, so what we had originally, you had these guys on release. This was a DLC, and these were FLCs, I believe. Tyrion was always the strongest of the High Elves, and most recently he has had added to him his Heir of Anarian mechanic, which allows him to do a number of the things that have also happened to Franz. He can instantly recruit, he can generate buildings and finish completion of recruitment or buildings within a territory. Most importantly, he can grab a brand new temporary army, which bolsters his force. It has no cost, it simply costs him influence. So he has benefited really strongly from this. It hasn't improved him that much. It has just cemented him as probably the easiest of the High Elves to play. And so I think that his improvements are A tier. They're not as good as a couple that we're going to look at, but he has definitely benefited. They've all benefited from the ability to use the patronage system, but we're going to find that most of the ones at the top here are going to get enough fights and going to get enough influence that they're going to be able to confederate one another very easily. Alarielle has really not benefited very much at all. The only sort of ability she has in relation to the influence system that you get a lot more influence for now is she spends less influence on court effects as anybody else. And that doesn't really matter because you're not going to be using the traditional court system to confederate. You're going to be using the patronage system, and she's had no benefits to her units other than that. She and Tyrion, both of their skill trees are exactly the same, so there's been no benefit for her there. She remains pretty strong, probably secondary to Tyrion, but she has reaped no real benefit from the system as it is. Teclis, on the other hand, has now become absolutely the sorcerer that we expected him to be. He's now along the lines of Gelt in terms of power, flexibility, ability to project his magic onto others. Not quite as powerful as Gelt. You're not going to have a stack of mages quite like Gelt does. You're going to rely still on a lot of your traditional forces. But Teclis, he has benefited very, very strongly from the rework. He's been given the ability to confederate Safari. He's been given cataclysmic spells. He can recruit massively powerful mages very quickly, which he could do before anyway. So he has definitely benefited the most. Eltharion, on the other hand, has benefited the least, and in fact the system has screwed him over. You used to be able to farm the warden supplies by continually sacking cities. That is very difficult to do now, especially back at Ulthuan, because sacking an Ulthuan city removes 10 of the Phoenix King favor, and you need to build Phoenix King favor to specific levels before you can confederate anybody. Now you could go ahead and just farm influence, and you could farm those benefits the way you did before, but that would put you way back. Confederating Alarielle was relatively easy in terms of influence. You just need to get to a certain level of Phoenix King favor. And farming with Eltharion will harm that. Everything else with Eltharion is still pretty much the same. Neither of these two guys have benefited much at all. They both actually are essentially the same that they ever were. Now, there is a slight benefit to Imrik because there is a specific tree just for dragons. The skill tree has now been broken down into types that are much more clearly defined. So dragons, mages, infantry, flying units. And so the dragons section will benefit Imrik because he can concentrate on that if that's the route you choose to go, because he can benefit with dragons. Alarielle got no benefit. Like a lot of dual types of troops, like she gets the forest spirits. There's very little for the forest spirits for her in the tech tree, if there's anything at all. And then Alith Anar will benefit a little from having all the archery units along the same lines. So his Shadow Warriors and Shadow Walkers are still along the tech tree where they were with everybody else, but nobody here has reaped any real benefit. Tyrion has had a great benefit in his Era of Anarion, and of course Teclis has become hugely powerful. Now, it's difficult to take Aislinn as benefiting from the rework because he was introduced with the rework. But having now played the campaign about 5 or 6 times, he has really, really benefited. And I think a lot of the things in the rework are targeted to him. Although Mist Mages are not listed in with all the other mages and a lot of the benefits, his mechanics are extremely powerful. So I'm going to list him as S tier because he was brought in, I think, as a major impetus for a lot of the reworks. His own tech tree is slightly different from everybody else's. So that also benefits him. He benefits from the Confederation system, not in terms of gaining territory, because he can't really benefit from those. He has to gather territory by using his own mechanic, and really only a few central locations due to the limit on elven settlements. But he is extraordinarily powerful militarily. His dragon ships are outlandishly good, and his dragon ship leaders are also extremely powerful. So I think this is a really good overall look at who benefited the most. If you really enjoy spell casting, Teclis is now quite powerful. If you enjoy archery, then Aislinn is extremely powerful. Overall, Tyrion is himself, no real change to these guys. But if you're looking for a challenge, you're now not going to be able to farm the Skullcrag or any other Ulthuan settlement for Eltharion, and I think he got left behind. These two who use hybrid units, Forest Spirits and then his own Mistwalkers, did not benefit much at all, and I think that's where we stand.